Yeah, so if you're trying to figure out, right, it should be kind of rotated like this since I'm up here in the left-hand corner. So if your last name is between Braun and Ebbing, you should be up there. So you'll be on Wednesday. Sorry. I can only have 15 of you in here today. So if someone doesn't show up, you're more than welcome to stay. Yeah. So. But you can sign in. I'll have the Zoom up so you can kind of watch it live. See which one looks better. All right. Keep this open just for a second. All right. Hopefully. All right. Make sure everyone can kind of see down here real quick. You guys should probably see me up there. So it'll be kind of weird for you in person. You'll see me live when you'll see the video until I switch the things that are on my slides or Excel or whatever we're doing in class. So until what I think is probably an impending end to the class, given while the units are done, we're going to kind of do this setup. I've got the seating chart posted on Canvas. In fact, we already had it pulled up here earlier. But you can kind of see there's different days with everyone's name should be on there at least one time. I guess the way you can think about it is everyone will have an assigned day. Got more people coming here later. So you can kind of already see if you're signing in on Zoom, it's best to get here as early as possible. That way, once I start talking, if you're kind of in that waiting room, I'm going to try to get clicked off. I haven't been able to play around too much with the new Zoom feature on Canvas. If you watched the video, you probably saw initially I thought I would have to post a link every time. Last Thursday or Friday, They finally got Zoom up on integrated Canvas. And so now all the Zoom meetings should be right there on Canvas for you to see. I'll have them kind of scheduled prior to each class. All you have to do is go to Canvas so you can actually see what that looks like. And I'll get these people in here too. So you can go to Canvas. Here's our section. And we go down here, there'll be a Zoom link. Once we click on that Zoom link, it should pop up. You kind of see here's our class meeting for today. I've already started it, but if you click on it, you should be able to kind of join right in. For me, it'll look like I can start the meeting. You should be able to join right in. That way we don't have to mess around with passcodes, meeting IDs. It should be all integrated right there in Canvas, right? So if you have any questions or any problems with this, let me know. So for you who are in person right now, you're not having to worry about this right now. But let's say you weren't able to make it to class, or it's Wednesday or Friday for you, those of you who are in person today, you can just sign the Zoom link. You should be able to hear everything I say, hopefully. In fact, let's double check for those of you who are on Zoom. Oh, that's not what I wanted. Let's stop share. Let me see the chat. If someone can help me out in the chat. Now you should enter muted, but you can unmute. So if someone wants to unmute and kind of tell me whether or not the audio is okay, or type it in the chat, that help me out. I don't have the pressure of me looking at you in class here, but if someone could help me out. Let's see if we can get someone to type in it. There, okay. There we go. See? So you can kind of see, hopefully those of you who are on Zoom can also now see this chat box. So I'll try to check this chat box periodically. If you want to ask a question live, you can always unmute, ask a question. Usually the way that my lectures go, in general, I give prompts, right? I'm going through something, and if you have a question any time, you can always ask a question. But specifically, if I get through something, I say, okay, now is there a question, right? And that's kind of a good prompt for those who are on Zoom as well to here's a time where I can probably unmute, ask a question live. I think this is probably hopefully the best way to get a live experience if you're not in class, is you're able to hear me live, you're able to see what I'm doing. Right now, you see the video. I know this is going to be this class is going to be a little bit different of a setup, so I can kind of get the board a little bit easier here. I've got some extensions for USB. I'm going to play around with this week so I can maybe get things set up here so you can have the whiteboard. And I'll also kind of utilize this guy right here where I can write, and you should be able to see whatever I'm writing below it. But it gives you the opportunity to ask a question live, right? Even if you're not in class. Okay? So let's get rid of this chat bar. And like I said, the chat thing is fine as well. I probably will be not as accustomed to be checking it as often as if you want to mute your mic when I ask those questions. Usually when I get those prompts, I'll probably pull the chat bar up and try to see if there's any questions that are in there as well. And honestly, maybe it'll be a little bit easier. Sometimes it's not as fun to ask questions live in front of people, but typing something in a chat box is a little bit easier sometimes. So I didn't even introduce myself with all this craziness we've been. I'm kind of getting used to kind of this new mode of teaching, right? But I'm Professor Lannis. Hopefully, you're supposed to be in T21, Econ 221 Business Statistics, Section 3. I've taught business stats, I think I might have had one semester where I didn't teach it, and this is the start of my 6th year. So I've done this course quite a bit. Obviously, things are going to be a little bit different this semester, but I had some experience last semester transition everything over. I've taught it online before. So I think it should be a pretty seamless transition. One thing else, I've also taught a hybrid course. So I said I won't be good at checking the chat, but you know, hopefully I'll maybe be a little bit more cognizant than people who haven't taught that type of course. So hopefully that kind of gets, you'll have your 1 day a week you can come in person. That gives you the opportunity to be here because we like to be in class. That helps you kind of learn a little bit better. But you'll also be able to sign in live on Zoom, watch the lecture live, ask your questions live. In addition to that, if you don't like either of those options, I will actually be posting these on YouTube as well. Right? So after class every day, it might not happen right after class because I have some other courses I like to teach. I download kind of the file, usually convert it. It takes a little bit of time, but it should be up every day. It will definitely be up by like 3:30 because that's when I'm kind of done with all my sections. If we go here, get rid of this real quick. Okay, so I thought I had a YouTube. I did. So if you go to YouTube, I actually have my page pulled up now. I'm signed in. You can kind of see what things I watch. So if you just search Professor Lannis, it's the first thing that comes up. So until somebody starts posting more videos with the name Professor Lannis or something than me, this should always be the first thing that comes up when you search it on YouTube. It's just this guy right here. You can see here was the videos I posted last week, which was some pre-class information. But if we click here, go to playlists, you'll be able to see kind of these three sections. So here's some of my courses. You won't be able to see these. I can have them turned on private. These are my old courses here from last semester. But find your section. To be completely honest, between section 3 and 5, there will be the different live recordings. But if you accidentally watch section 5 for the day, it'll probably look very similar, if not identical, to section 3. Right? I'm going through the same material. I might have a couple different questions in some of the different sections, but click on your section. Here's kind of the first video. Now let's start posting videos chronologically. And hopefully there was some more playback over that. Post them chronologically. Here is the pre-class information video. Later today, there will be this video posted. So either you weren't in class or you weren't able to sign in the Zoom meeting live, you can actually go ahead and watch that recorded lecture and what we went over in class that day on YouTube as well. Okay? I do this instead of using Canvas simply because of just some limitations of how many videos I can upload. Once we start getting closer to exam, I want you to be able to, if you wanted to, go back and look at some information or things like that. And once we get to the end of the semester or some of the exams, I'd have to start pulling videos off Canvas because of the file size limitation. Okay? I will put, so once again, you guys can try to sign early so I don't have to keep it many people. I think I can get that checked out. Some of the presets on the Canvas aren't what I had them on my original Zoom, so I'll get those kind of ironed out here this week. But if, what was I saying? Oh, so if you want to, if you have any other kind of questions about any of that in terms of what day you're supposed to show up, there is a seating chart. I ask you to follow that only because that's how we're going to try to do contact tracing. So the people that are around you, if someone gets sick, we can kind of, I guess the university's contacting the people that sit near them. They'll ask me, I'll give them the seating chart. It's just easier, right? It's that or I take pictures of you every time you're in class and try to figure out what your mask is on, which one of you are who, right? And that seems a little bit more difficult for me. So I think the seating chart is probably going to be the easiest way for us to do this. She's just one person. Are there any questions on any of that? Just kind of seeing the chart in terms of how you can get into Zoom, how you can watch the videos after the fact. No questions? This isn't like too bizarre yet. I feel like this is very bizarre. But as I said, I don't have to take it like this for a very long time. If for some reason we do end up not being able to meet live like this, I'm actually going to follow the same procedure where I'll just create Zoom meetings during our allotted time slot for class. Basically, nothing will change. I mean, the only thing that will change is that you don't have the opportunity to show up in person, but you'll have the opportunity to sign for the Zoom link live. You'll be able to see me do the work live, go through lecture live, ask questions, and same thing, I'll post the video after the fact. Okay? So I think this is helpful in the sense that the way I have it set up now, if something changes, it really won't look a whole lot different other than you won't have the opportunity to show up in class on your one scheduled allotted day. Right? Now, after this week, and I'll probably have a little more, I'll have a better timeline and kind of procedure for this at the end of the week. But after this first week, if there's some of you who are just like, I'm terrified of COVID and I don't want to show up and be around people, or I know that I'm not going to go to class, I'll probably have something set up where you can sign up so I'll get a better idea of who are people who actually want to show up in class. Because right now, given the room limitations and the size of this class, I had to break it up into 3 days, right? Well, let's say half of it. People aren't going to ever show up. I've already had people email me, you know, I don't want to pay for a lease all year that I don't think I might need to pay for. And so I can use the inverse for that to do, or I've got it set up to do it. So I know there will be some people who will never show up, right? So by the end of the week, I'll probably get something up with a sign up about those of you who want to show up at the in-person classes, so that maybe if you do want to show up in in-person classes, we can get it so maybe it's not just once a week, maybe twice a week. I doubt it will be enough to get every single day. But that is something at the end of the week that we'll kind of I'll try to get a good idea on so we can set up future classes to get you more opportunities if possible to show up live if you want to. Okay? All right. Let's see. I've got more late people. Let's check the chat here real quick. Stop share. Okay, no questions there. So once again, I'll pause right now. If there are any questions, if anyone wants to try on Zoom to ask a question and unmute their mic, you're welcome to do so and see if that works. Nobody's brave enough? Well, that doesn't mean that it's not working for you guys, but if you have a question at any time, feel free to ask it. Any other questions before I kind of jump into the slides for the week? Okay, so I think that hopefully kind of gets through some of the stuff that we usually don't have kind of to contend with. We go here. Well, I'll show you on Canvas first. So we go to Files. You can kind of see there's already the syllabus is up there, the seating chart's up there. I've got lecture slides up there. So the reason I post two versions of the lecture slides, they're the exact same thing. I think Chromebooks and some other type of laptop, when you try to look at my PowerPoint slides, some of the slides look like a garbled mesh and everything's all my images end up not on the right place. And so if you ever kind of open that PowerPoint, it's looking really weird or it's saying this is not available on it or some of the images or something, your best bet is to use that PDF version, right? So there's PowerPoint and a PDF version. Like I said, they're both the exact same thing. It's just kind of the compatibility with different computers is why I have to have both those up there. So if you click on this, another issue you might run into is if you try to view this on the browser, I don't think it'll have an issue here. Let's see if there's anything. Yeah, so my pictures and everything are showing up. So if you view this in the browser, especially when we start doing things like Excel, I'll show you in Excel because that's a really good example. This is what shows up in the web browser. There were no days assigned here, right? Which is why I believe in the pre-class information video I even mentioned, don't view this in the browser, download. Well, of course it's not gonna like that. Let's go to, if you download this and then you open it, now it'll look more like what I was looking at earlier, where you can see the different, well, use this mouse, where you can see the different tabs down here, but you weren't able to see that in the browser, right? So anytime there's a file, I would highly suggest don't just look at it in the web browser, download that file, whether it's a PowerPoint slide, an Excel file, always download it to look at the file, right? It kind of helps some of these maybe things that would otherwise make it very confusing. Now you can kind of see it's a little bit, makes a little bit more sense, okay? So we'll get rid of those. We'll go to this first week of PowerPoint slides, right? So hopefully that kind of gets through everything there. We're waiting for this. There we go. So let's check before we start into things. If we don't have any questions, I want to make sure that everyone's admitted since this is the first day. Okay. All right. So typically how I'll start out is kind of with the slides. I'll usually go through them and then do some additional board work, do some additional work using, I don't even know what this thing's called, it's TT12. It's basically a projector, but it will show up in person up here on the slide, or on Zoom, it'll kind of show up on your screen. Okay? So at the end of class, I'm actually going to try to do something. Well, I'll mention that here in a second. It'll make a little more sense. All right. So, class overview. So I've kind of already mentioned the lecture side of this. We're going to be having, a third of you show up in person. Another 2/3 will kind of sign in on Zoom. I put the YouTube link right here. I mean, personally, I think it's just easier to Google search Professor Lannis, but there it is. And when I do post the video later today, I'll probably put an announcement up that has the link just so for everyone we start off with, we kind of get there pretty easily. But once we get there once, hopefully I shouldn't have to keep posting those announcements for the YouTube link because you'll know where they are. Okay. The kind of two things that we'll need, you're going to need to get not the book necessarily, but the Connect access code is essential, or not essential. Yeah, essentials of physicists. I think it's communicating with numbers is kind of a, a colon and communicating with numbers. make sure when you get the access codes for the newest edition, I'm not even sure you can buy a Connect code for the old edition, but make sure it is for that 3rd edition. If you want a physical copy of the book, because when you get that Connect code, it gives you like a PDF, so you can have a version of the book on your computer and view it. If you really want a physical copy, what I always suggest is go on like Chegg, or I don't even know half the thing anymore, but you can get an old version of the book for like 15, 20 bucks. And that's how I would do it, because the old versions are no different than the new one. We're not going to do any problems out of the book other than kind of what's on this Connect platform. Now, I put the link up here. You kind of click on this. It should send you to where you can purchase that code. And I'll walk through the steps here in just a second on that. But you will need that Connect code. We'll be doing some online homework through that. Some other things called Learn Smarts that I'll go over here in just a second as well. See if I forgot anything in the lecture. We kind of already covered all that. Oh, the one thing I didn't mention earlier, because of just the sake of time, I'm guessing, especially for the first week or so, I will probably lose some time that I usually don't because of getting used to Zoom, or taking questions that I usually don't use Zoom, maybe a little clunky at first. I may, just to kind of, for the sake of time, put some additional recording up on that YouTube page. And if I do, I'll make sure I post an announcement on Canvas about that. Usually, my idea right now is if it is an additional recording, it's specifically going to be an Excel kind of tutorial, just to get a better idea of how to do some of the things that we're going to try to learn in Excel. Just having a standalone video on that. We'll go through some of it in class, but I'll give you like another example that's a little bit more detailed maybe, and kind of self-contained, so you'll have some additional recordings that might end up there on Canvas as well. Also, the additional recording I'm kind of also thinking about doing is when we get close to exams, I'll probably do exam reviews. And even though I might actually create like a Zoom meeting when I'm going through that, so everyone can ask questions live on Zoom, I'll put that recording up. We won't be doing it like in person in class. It'll be like an additional thing. So you don't have to show up to see it, but that additional help video will be up there as we get closer to exams as well. Okay. Any questions on any of that before we keep moving? You guys are like even more quiet than usual for the first day of class, so you're making me nervous. So I put this up there. Obviously, the seating chart's up there already, but you can kind of see if your last name falls between these two names. Here's your assigned days. I think we've already kind of went over this, but you'll have this as a reminder in the slide. I don't know. This is some stuff that I kind of just to make sure. If you're here in class, you have to wear your mask. If you forget your mask, they have some in the dean's office, or I believe in our department, which is up on the 2nd floor. So for you, we're just going to the dean's office, a lot closer. Try to remember your mask. I mean, I think at this point, it's probably not too hard to forget that you're going to have a mask if you go like anywhere other than your house. But that is something that we have to have. I will try to get up today. That Zoom link was about 5 minutes before class. Hopefully, I think that what I can do, I'm going to try to just starting it in my office. And then when I bring my laptop in here, it should be up there way more than 5 minutes. I was a little nervous about doing it the first day, just in case something went wrong. So it should be up even more than 5 minutes prior to class, so you can kind of get in there. And that, even if there's nothing up there yet, class hasn't started, you can get in there ahead of time. I have it checked so that your audio should be muted when you enter, but if it's not for some reason, please mute it. I know it's kind of cute, like if you hear a dog in the background or something, but at some point, like it's going to not be okay. So try to have it muted unless you have a question. And I kind of already mentioned you can use that chat bar feature or unmute your mic to ask a question if you're in that Zoom. Okay. So important dates. This is in the syllabus as well, but I've got the exam dates here. Get the final exam. I'll talk about that in a second. Add, drop, withdraw dates. Just some important dates you might want to be aware of. As far as kind of the grades for this class go, 60% is going to be in the exam. So I know that sounds like a lot, but I think I have it structured in a way, worked out this far, that actually helps you guys out quite a bit. Right? And so what I do, is at the end of the semester, right, between the first 2 midterms and the final, whatever your best exam grade is, that counts for 30% of your grade, right? So if you got like and then your next one is 20 and your worst exam is 10%. So what that does is if you've got like a 90 on the first exam, and then the material gets harder and you get like a 70 and then maybe a 50. Well, that 50 doesn't hurt you near as much. It's only 10% of your grade, and that 90 you got helps your grade out a lot because it's 30% of your grade. So, you know, part of this, and you'll kind of see a reoccurring theme here as I walk through kind of all the other grades in this class. If you front load your effort in this class, especially given what we're going to have to kind of deal with towards the end here going virtual, front load your effort and get as good of a grade on that first exam as you can, because I'll tell you right now, it's the easiest material. That sets you up pretty good, right? Because if I know I got an A in that first exam, that puts a lot less pressure on the next two exams, right? Especially if I get two decent grades, that final exam is only going to be 10%, even if I don't do well on it. I've got 4, 5 other finals, however many classes you have. And so you don't have to maybe take a little bit of time away from this class to study for other classes where it's a little more important, right? Because you know it won't be weighted as much. So front load your effort will make things a little bit easier. Homeworks are going to be 30%. We'll have 3 types. We'll have the Learn Smart assignments, which I'll actually have one of those posted later today, and it'll be due by the end of the week. Honestly, these are just so that you go through them. Like, it basically just, how many of you use like Connect or Learn Smart? Everyone in here is raising their hand. Let's see if we got anyone that responded in the chat. Also, why can't I see the chat bar when I'm sharing my screen? That's annoying. I might have to not use this Canvas version of this. Okay, so no one answered the chat, but whatever. So we'll have 3 types. So these Learn Smarts, I'll assign kind of prior to us going through the material. So you just like, if I kind of walk you through, ask you a question, it's not for correctness. You literally just have to take 10 to 15 minutes and go through it. I've literally put these in here, I'll tell you straight up, to make part of your grade based on effort. Right? I've always kind of I always think of like performance in anything as it's like a function, right? I'm like super nerdy. So I think of this as like a function, right? Like f of x, but it's f of x and y. The x is like your intelligence, right? Part of your score is going to be based on how smart you are. But part of your grade or part of your performance in anything in life is also just how much effort you put in, right? It doesn't matter if I'm the most talented person in the world. If I don't put in any effort, I'm going to get 0 performance, right? And so this is really just a part of your grade that's solely based on effort. Get them done before they're due, and you'll get 100% in this, right? That's worth 10% of your grade. So 10% of your grade there should be easy for everyone to get 100% on those Learn Smarts, okay? So just get through them, and they take 10 to 15 minutes. I don't have them, so they're going to take you a half hour. I think you can set them to be like, I think the max on some of them 45 minutes, which is ridiculous to me. But 10 to 15 minutes, it should be an easy part of your grade, okay? The next kind of thing that we'll do are these Connect homeworks. These are on this Connect platform. These are really like problems similar to what we do in class, similar to what you could see on your exam. And so these will be graded for correctness, but it has this nice little feature called Check My Work, which basically you can put an answer in and you can see if it's right without submitting your assignment, right? So, I mean, these are for correctness, but you get like essentially infinite attempts, right? I mean, with numbers, it's not as easy like in some classes where you can maybe just put in like, try all 5 different answers, right? Because you have to start at 0.1, 0.11, 0.111, 0.111, it's not going to kind of be like you can guess. But if you work it out and you make a mistake and it says you're not right, what did I do wrong? You can like retrace your steps. And I think it's a really good tool for you to get practice, getting good at these types of problems that you will see on your exam. Okay? So those will be graded for kind of correctness. I think I have a slide here in a second, but you probably will have 5 of those, maybe 6. Usually the 6th one is like an optional one leading up to an exam where it's just some additional practice, but for sure there'll be 5 of those that are graded. And the Learn Smarts will be about 7, 8 of those, kind of depending on, sometimes I'll combine 2 of them. So 2 chapters I'll combine into 1. So depending on how you want to count that. And then the third thing we'll have are these Excel assignments, which I'll talk about here in just a second, a little bit more. But those will be graded for correctness as well, and those will be 10% of your grade. So we'll have 5 of those Excel assignments as well. So the nice thing I do here is each one of these types of homework, so Learn Smart, Connect, Excel, there's 3. I'll drop the lowest of each one, right? So let's say you just missed one of the Learn Smarts. I didn't see it, I forgot about it, I didn't get it done. That's okay, it gets dropped. It actually won't hurt your grade at all, as long as you do the other one, right? And so this kind of allows you, like, if I don't do so hot on one of the Excel assignments, that's okay. I've got 4 other ones I can do well that lowest score will get dropped of each type, right? So one Learn Smart, one Connect, one Excel assignment will be dropped at the end of the semester, right? Now, when you see your grades on Canvas, right, these get dropped at the end of the semester. So if you don't do so well on them, right, you still have to complete the final ones. At the end of the semester, I'll drop them, and before the final, things are due prior to the final, so I'll drop them to give you an idea of where your grade is at that last week. But up until that last week, right, I can't drop them on Canvas because each person's lowest grade might be a different assignment. Okay. There we go. And then we'll do, I used to use iClickers. So I'm going to substitute, since y'all can't be in person. I'm going to do some online quizzes on Canvas. So let me be careful how I say this. I would highly suggest, and my reasonable expectation is that all of you are either in class, watching the Zoom meeting, or watch that video the day that we're supposed to meet in class, right? So today, I'm expecting everyone to, they weren't in the Zoom call, they weren't here, to watch that video on YouTube at some point later today. Right? So these online quizzes, I'll kind of post up, and I will give until the next class. So they will be open. I'll say I post one today. They will be open for the rest of the day today, and then you can do it any time until we start class on Wednesday. Now, what I don't want you to do is wait until Wednesday before class to do it. It's not going to be beneficial to you. You're probably not going to get the questions right as a high percent of the time. And kind of putting what they're expecting that, look, right after class, right after you watch a Zoom meeting, right after you watch it on YouTube, go on and get that done. It'll look very similar to things we did in class. I'm sure I'll even be like a little bit cute with it and probably say something in class like, hey, it's a really, I don't know, the sky is really blue today. And then put a question like, what color was the sky today? I don't know, like something goofy like that, where they should be pretty easy to just go on and get them done. But all the questions will also be things that we did in class, right? So it'll be something we did in class. I'll give you another problem that looks very similar to it. You can go back to your notes, kind of work a very similar problem. So they're very similar to what we do in class. And so they should be fairly easy as long as you watch the video, or as long as you were paying attention to the Zoom call, or as long as you were paying attention in class, right? So those should be pretty easy. They'll probably be posted almost every class, other than probably this first week. After this first week, after every class, there will be kind of one of these online quizzes on Canvas, right? It'll only be a couple questions, right? And the way that I'll score these is that for each online quiz, there's like 10 points, okay? Simply getting on and getting it done, you'll get a certain number of base points. So let's say I have 3 questions that day. Just submitting it, like just go on, don't even guess at all, and submit it, you'll get 7 points, right? For each question you get correct, you'll get an additional point, right? Now, if you just go on and submit it every day and you get 70, we're going to get 70% out of that. But if you go on and put in, like, honestly, like a marginal amount of effort, you probably can get like 10 out of 10 or 9 out of 10 on almost all of these, right? And so this is another thing where, yeah, you are graded for correctness on these online quizzes. A lot of this is just effort as well. So the Learn Smart and these online quizzes, it's really going to be the effort part of your grade, right? I mean, how much effort you put in will be reflected on your exams, but these are literally just get on and put a little bit of effort in, you'll get some, a really good grade on it. Okay. Okay, let's see if we got any questions in the chat. All right, we're good. So here's a little bit more information on that Connect. You can go back and look at this. These slides are posted on Canvas, but once you click on this course, later today, I'll get that first Learn Smart posted. So there'll be an icon there, you just click on it, it'll send you to the website. If you're not registered, right, you'll have to register now, use your email address, you'll buy this code. I would kind of just, like I said, that Connect Plus comes with the ebook. So if you really want a version of the book, you can do it with that. You'll have the PDF version. It's pretty straightforward. It's like signing up for, an account on anything, right? And it's pretty straightforward once you click on that Learn Smart link that'll show up on Canvas later today. Okay? I didn't want to put it up there ahead of time and like freak people out. Like, am I supposed to do something on the side before class? And that'll be due by the end of the week. And that's really just so I can get you some of the material that we'll cover this week, but also just to like make sure you're getting registered for that Connect platform and for that Learn Smart platform, right? And registering once gets you registered for both, right? They'll both be on the same platform, Learn Smarts and Connect. Okay? The only other thing I would throw in here, make sure you use your Ball State email address. If you don't in the past, I've had some issues then uploading the grades to Canvas from him, which it's not a problem. I can go and do it by hand later on, but it's a real big pain for me, and you won't be able to see your grades right away, right? You sign up with your Ball State email address, I've never had any problem with this kind of transferring over. But if you use a Gmail account or anything else, you can get some issues there. Okay? So make sure you use your Ball State email address when you're registering for this. All right, any questions here? Pretty okay at this point. There we go. So I'll just put these in there. So I like to use memes, and sometimes I think they're clever at the time, and I realize that they're really terrible after the fact. But I already mentioned, well, 5 of these Excel assignments, I know that these are hard. I know they're difficult. Okay? And so, you know, I usually, in terms of how we'll meet this semester, I'll talk about that in kind of the next slide here. I'm more than willing to do Zoom meetings with anyone. I am okay with, I have to double check on this, but I'm pretty sure I can meet with one of you in my office as long as we're wearing masks. And so I'm more than willing to, willing to help you out if you have questions on these. A lot of people, sometimes what they'll do is they'll send me a version of their Excel file and say, I'm having an issue with this, what am I doing wrong? Usually it's a real quick email, I can look at it, and within 5 minutes I can get a response to them. And sometimes it's something really simple. Excel is a pain in the ass, right? Like there's syntax things, and like you just have one little thing wrong, it's not going to do what you want, even though you have like 99% of it correct. So I get that. I know it's frustrating, but a lot of programs you'll have to use once you go out and get a job are going to be the same way. If not, when you're using Excel in your job. So I think I always tell my students, I'd be doing you a disservice. Honestly, the college would be doing you a disservice if we didn't teach you how to use some of these programs, just kind of even the tools of how to do some of the simple things in Excel, not like formatting, but like how to use its actual power. And we'll see that as the semester goes on, how much time Excel can save us. Also, I'm sorry I'm touching my mask a lot. This thing is driving me insane already. So, but I mean, if I don't, I have stories of a lot of students who in their internship or something, they had some knowledge, but we didn't Excel. I had one student email me, I became like the go-to person on Excel because no one else really had this experience using if statements or using COUNTIF. I've had a couple of students reach out to me, and part of their interview process was they were actually given some projects to do in Excel and submit as part of their interview process for a job or an interview. I think I said that right. But so this is something that you'll be expected to use once you get out of here, if not something more complicated. But if it's something more complicated, this gives us a really nice base. You'll have the tools and the understanding of how to use something like Excel to work with stats, work with statistics, and it'll just be very similar in the other program, but slightly different. So don't be afraid to reach out for help with these. They're difficult. Also, just to kind of, we usually don't give this disclaimer, but I imagine things in virtual, I might, I know, I might be naive if I didn't think I'd run into more of this issue this semester. So I do these every semester, but I'd be really lazy and really bad at my job if I didn't at least change them a little bit. So even if it's the same data set, it may be different questions than what I've asked in the past. And if I see someone submit something and there's like a 1C, and there's no 1C on this assignment, you can imagine you're probably going to get 0. Right? I've had people try to turn in past semesters things. I've had people like, and that's, I mean, cheating of any kind is not tolerated, but put a little bit of effort, read the actual assignment, see if there's not a 1C, right? But, telling you ahead of time, if you knew someone that took this course and you have some, those are great to look at the old ones for help, but things are going to be different. I'm going to change things enough where you can't just copy and paste what they did, right? It's going to be a completely different assignment, even if the question is very similar, and even if it is the same data set, right? So have that, please don't do that. It makes a headache for me. I don't like to accuse people of cheating and call you out on that, but I have to, right? And so make sure you're kind of approaching these with your own mind and not trying to just kind of get through them. So let's make sure there's no questions in the chat here. All right. So how do you pass this class? Come to class or Zoom in, pay attention. That's kind of the first thing. Read those Learn Smarts. I already mentioned this. Easy points. Just put in the effort. Do the homework. This is one thing. Even if you only do half of it, a 50% is a hell of a lot better than 0. A 0 can really hurt your grade. 50% is not good for your grade, but it's not going to like really like completely kill you, right? Where you can't come back. So even if I don't have enough time to get this whole thing done, do as much as you can, right? Even if you know it's not perfect when you're doing these cell assignments, turn on whatever you got, right? Because anything's better than 0. So you miss 100% of shots you don't take, right? This is like one of my favorite Michael Scott lines. Ask me for help, right? I've tentatively set my office hours, and this is in the syllabus as well. As 10 to noon on Tuesday, Thursday, and then Monday, Wednesday, 3 to 4. So I teach a lot on Monday, Wednesday, so this is kind of the earliest available time slot I have. If you want to meet in person, the way that I'm going to have to do it this semester is you need to email me and schedule, right? So these are the time blocks that are available, especially if you want to meet one-on-one in my office with Matt. It needs to be kind of within one of these time slots. If you want to set up a Zoom meeting, these time slots are preferred. Sometimes I might be able to do something else outside those time blocks, but I can't guarantee it. During these time blocks, I can guarantee that I can meet with you either one-on-one in person or on a Zoom meeting. Okay? As we get closer to the exams, I'm imagining also I might do some of these Zoom meetings with like multiple, so I might like create an office hours Zoom so I can have multiple people in it at the same time. But for starting out, until we get closer to the exams, I think it's probably best that we schedule something and then I kind of do one-on-one meetings, whether or not that's in person or on Zoom. Okay? Any questions over any of that? I think this is there you go. Help me help you, right? I try to be available. It sucks for me because I love having students in my office. I love, interacting and coming, getting one-on-one help. I think it's the easiest way to do it. But email, Zoom meetings, based off last semester, I had tons of Zoom meetings and WebEx meetings that were great, right? And so I try to be as available as possible to kind of help you with things. Don't ever feel like you can't reach out. No question is like a bad question, unless it's like something that I literally just said in class and you just weren't paying attention and you asked it again. Not in terms of material. What does this do? Well, I said it on the syllabus. But I'm always, always willing to help. And these will be the kind of time blocks where it's best to kind of. Okay. I do have a GA. I don't know what their office hours are yet. I'm not even sure kind of how they're going to allow them to schedule office hours, but when I have the information, I'll let you know as well. Okay. All right. So I already mentioned all this. Email me ahead of time so we can set up these Zoom meetings. If for some reason I'll have something during those times, we can kind of set something up outside this time frames as well. Okay. All right. So where are we at in time today? How much more do I want to go through? So I'll go through a little bit and kind of pass up the next class. So, this is business statistics. So my view of this class is it obviously has to be somewhat math. It's statistics, right? But it's not a stat 2.0 or 221 course, right? So I will show you, sometimes we'll even gloss over some of like the proofs or the hard math. I'm not gonna like go through proofs here. I might show it to you just to like show you how scary and crazy it is. But what I really am focused on is how do we take these stats that we can usually get Excel to calculate for us, and how do we interpret them? How do we use them? How do we apply them, right? Actually, a better name for this course could be applied statistics, right? How do we apply them to solve problems or to answer questions, right? So I always kind of go through these, one thing that I really want from this class, I obviously want you to be able to use this in your careers, and also like having a better understanding of statistics just helps you view the world better, right? So, and I'll change this example. I think I use that California has more teachers than Arizona. Therefore, California cares more about their children's education. So what's the problem with this? If I say this, why is this? The conclusion I came up with based off this stat, why is that wrong? California has more teachers than Arizona. Why does that not necessarily mean that California cares more about children's education. Yeah, I pray to God California has more teachers, right? They got way more students. So yes, this statistic is true. They do have a higher number, but the conclusion that was drawn, right, we got to think about that's probably not the statistic we want. Right? What statistic would be better here? Probably something like teacher to student ratios in the two states. You know, you could even change this now. I here think we'll use a lot of COVID data this semester just because it's out there, it's relevant, and it's also interesting to kind of understand things better. But you change this instead of teachers, say California has more COVID cases than Arizona. Well, yeah, probably. They got way more people, right? So we actually probably want to do something like number of cases divided by the population, right? So another one would be something like small market teams. These are like teams that are kind of in smaller cities in sports. Have won 6 of the last 10 World Series, and so money doesn't buy championships at the conclusion. Well, let's think about this one. Why did they choose just the last 10 World Series? What's probably true about if they went back one more year? I went back and said of the last 11. Well, if I went back one more year and it was another small market team, why wouldn't I have said 7 out of 11? That's a better statistic. It's probably because if I go back to year 11, it wasn't a small market team, and 6 out of 11 isn't as good as 6 out of 10. And if I go back 15 years, maybe it's only 6 out of 15, right? So you always got to think about why. Anytime we look at data where it's like censored in terms of timeline, why did they stop at that time? Why did they choose that time frame, right? Probably because it supports whatever conclusion they wanted to make. But that's not like the complete picture, right? We'll get into this later. This is kind of the idea of like sampling versus the entire population. This is one of my favorite ones. I always burn my favorite example of first day class. But a study found that 90% of bar fight deaths were the individual who started the fight. So karma is you fill in the blank, right? What's interesting about this stat? When 90% of bar fight deaths, the individual who started the fight was the one who died. Why do you think it would be that high? So let's think about how data is collected. In this scenario, 2 people get in a fight, someone dies. Who's the only person left? The one who didn't die. Do you think they're going to say they started the fight that resulted in someone dying? Probably not. The fact that this isn't 100% is insane, right? 10% of people are like, yeah, I started the fight, and the guy died. You know, like you're the only one left. There's no, he said anymore. It's just you, right? So you have to think about who's giving you the data, right? Where is this data, coming from? And then kind of the last one, higher ice cream sales are correlated with higher drowning deaths. This is like an age-old stats example. Therefore, ice cream sales are causing people to drown. Why does this number? I mean, first of all, it doesn't make any sense. But what is kind of the missing component here? So what might cause drowning deaths to be higher and ice cream sales to be higher? People are likely to be in lakes and stuff in the what season? Summer. When are ice cream sales probably highest? The summer. So we're missing this third factor that's really causing both of these. These two things aren't really related at all, other than they're related to something else that we're not talking about. Right? So we kind of call this omitted variable bias, but we'll get into that way later in the semester. But this is kind of a good example. Like just because we see a stat show that maybe there's correlation between these things doesn't mean that they're causing each other. Right? And another broader reason I bring this up is we'll talk about a lot of things in this class, especially early on even this week and next week. We'll talk about things like means and stuff like that. Almost every statistic we're going to talk about is an average effect. Okay? And so I can say that on average, right, what men are taller than women. Right? If I look at the statistics, that is true. But there are plenty of women who are taller than plenty of men, right? But our statistics are going to talk about the average effect, right? So just, that's one thing, we're going to say things that'll sound like generalizations. But a lot of times it is a generalization, but we can break it down and say, okay, maybe the average is higher, but like what's the overlap, right, in the distribution? Which we haven't talked about distributions yet, but we'll get into that, right? And so sometimes we'll talk about a statistic. It doesn't necessarily mean it applies to everything. It's just the average effect. Right? All right. Actually, another good one with this is not ice cream sales or not drowning deaths, but also murder rates are higher in the summer just because people are out and about more and they're not inside their homes. And So you could like derive the same thing that ice cream sales are causing people to murder, which is not true. It's just the summer, right? But they're both having fun. Okay, we'll go over. Oh, there we go. We'll go over some more stuff on Wednesday, but I want to do one more thing here. If I can get this set up. So let me see if I can get this. So before kind of we got here, before people in the Zoom meeting leave, this might relate to your first online quiz. So let's try something here. Not sure if it's going to work with you. If it does, but I'm going to see what's happening. And then kind of poll you guys on it. It's really dark. It's really dark, isn't it? All right. I want another classroom working ahead of it. Okay, there we go. Let me see. If I can get through. Oh, that's not what I want in the Zoom call. Let's actually here. It should show up to me. All right, I might have to play around with this before the next class. This showing up here, right? You guys can see this. Do you think if I wrote something here, like my hand's showing up pretty clear, right? Yes, no, nod your head, yeah. So hopefully I can figure out, I know that I can get it on the, not in my laptop, but I should be able to use this to kind of write on. I think it'll probably be better than using the board just for kind of making a Zoom to this. So on Wednesday, I'll have this kind of ready to go because I'll probably start doing Wednesday and Friday a lot more work on the board instead of just up here talking. Right? I'll be doing a lot more problems, things like that. So we'll go kind of switch back and forth between kind of me, the slides, and then it should be something where you can see me kind of working out some problems on some paper. And we'll set that up on Wednesday. So everyone who's not here on Zoom, thanks for signing in. I will get that first Learn Smart posted within the next hour. So you can kind of get on, start to get kind of signed up to connect, get that first Learn Smart done. If we do by the end of the week, I would suggest just get it out of the way. I'm sure things are going to start getting busier and busier as the week goes on. If you have any questions at all, feel free to email me. Like I said, if you do want to stop by my office for office hours, because I can only have one person, please do schedule those still so I can kind of set up 10 or 15 minute time blocks with people. But feel free to kind of stop by, ask me questions or email any questions that you guys have. For those of you in person, I guess I won't see you for at least another week. Check the seating chart for those of you who are able to or kind of having a lot of time slot for Wednesday. And hopefully the rest of your first day goes well. All right, we'll see you guys